Okay. Welcome to the Benton City Council Workshop on Budgets. Today is December the 15th, 2022. And let's see, I think since Diana is new, we can pick on her tonight and ask her to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which it stands, one nation, proud, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Wadsworth,
Here.
Councilman Sandretto,
Here.
Councilman Reed,
Here.
Councilwoman Funk. Here.
Okay. We have a quorum, so I think we can now turn this over to Sherry and Sarah.
I'm out of breath.
Out of breath sounds about right. So Sherry has been doing an incredible job working through all the updates since the last meeting, specifically getting the benefits adjusted the rest of the way, making sure the insurance was okay across the board, and then working through all the transfers in the beginning balance. I know we're supposed to say that we're all the way done. I think there's still a couple minor things that need updated, but I think we're incredibly close. And again, I think Sherry's just done an amazing job to get here. So you would see on page 1 that you have on the very first row for beginning fund balance. Councilman Sandretto, do you have a copy? You're on mute, sir.
I have the copy that was sent out from Carla the other day.
I sent you a new one about 10 minutes ago on your email.
Let me see. Oh, yes, I see that there. Okay. I'm there.
Okay, cool. So what we can see under 2023 appropriated is a beginning balance of $1.2 million. And the way that this should work for the general fund and all the funds is that beginning balance. If you flip to page, a lot of flipping in this, page number 9, the 2022 actuals, which will continue to be trued up through January, has a fund gain loss of $1.35 million. So the numbers are not the same, but they're close. They're materially close. They're within, less than $200,000. So you can see that we're starting 2023 from a place of positive, which is what we expect to happen. We do have some more transfers to apply to 2023. We have about 400,000 left, which means by the end of 2023, based on what we have currently allocated, we're going to be close to zero, but not at zero. You'll notice on page 9, there's this ending fund balance of $234,000, which is above. It goes fund gain loss, total expenditures, and then it has this ending fund balance of 234. So that's a benefit for us. But I would say for right now, although you see 198 for 2023, when we finish applying the few transfers out of the general fund to the other funds, we'll be pretty close to zero. And then for 2024, we also have some transfers left to apply. And the transfers that I'm speaking about are actually shown on page 1. It's for the federal appropriations for the train bridge and then the BF cog crosswalks. So for 2023, there's $471,000 in 2023. I don't mean to be in your personal space. Yeah, these two right here. And then in 2024, you've got the 1.6 million, the 260,000. So we're showing those coming in here as money we expect to receive, but we haven't been able to apply those and transfer them out on page 9 into the other funds. So it's just a little bit of math that we've got to work through in the meantime. As some final adjustments coming in. All that's to say, I think we are at a place where all the different funds, when you go through them, are balanced currently and not negative. We've not applied any of the prioritizations that we talked about yet, but this does include adding the city planner. And that's, I guess, what I would say, what I've got for you. Sherry, what did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything.
I think the one other, my apologies, I did miss one other thing. On page number 10, under the city street fund, in the first section, beginning balances for 2023, you'll notice we have the $401,000, $402,000 coming in for the TIB, which Alan informed us about during our last workshop. We should have that as an in, which makes sense. And then when we come down to page 11, the last section of page 11 has 595-10-41-29 TIB Dale Avenue Engineering for $19,020. There should be some other place somewhere that shows the difference, the 401 minus that 19. We need to go find that account too.
Yes.
What we can see though is on page 12, under 2023 appropriated, right now, this fund has 744,000. So even though we need to go find that 340 in let's call it 2023 budgeted someplace else, I don't know. We need to just go find it and apply it. We'll still be balanced in this account as well. That's the other adjustment that I think that is outstanding that we need to go look for. But I believe that those are the only two that are out there.
Yes. Where you got. You found the cog we already did, where you've got RCCF.
Excuse me, Sherry, could you talk into the mic, please?
I'm sorry.
And
Is that right?
well, we've got the RCCF taken care of. So maybe I can walk everyone through for the benefit of understanding the budget and the funds, if it's okay. Let's look at on page 1, we've got the RCCF fund exchange for 1.5 million. So if we look at page 1, what we'll see is on page 1, we've got the 1.5 million. Now, when we go back to page number 9, you've got two accounts on page 9 that are transfers out of the general fund. You've got transfer out RCCF ARPA water and then transfer out RCCF sewer. The water is $347,000 and the sewer is $1.1 million. So those are moving out of the general fund. Then what we need to do, and if you'll just bear with me for a second, what we need to do to see the other side of those is we go, let's take water. We go from page 9 down to page 19 into the water fund. And there's a section on page 19 towards the bottom called interfund transfers, and you'll see that $347,000 there. So it's coming into the water fund. Then what we have to do is say, now we've got to spend that money. And we know we're going to spend that money. And we go to page 21 to see where we're going to spend the money. We spend the money on 2 projects on page 21. The first project is capital outlay Dale Avenue Water Project, which is a 594 capital expenditure account totaling $238,000. And then the last 594 capital outlay well generator number 5 for $108,000. So the sum of 138,812 plus 108,843 equals that 347 that we saw above. So this is an example, like I would highlight, this is an example of kind of crazy, all these funds, but this is what Sherry's been doing to work on moving all of the different pieces through the budget. Does that example make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
So on page, and again, we won't go through the other one on page 9 for sewer, but it's a similar, exactly a similar exercise into the sewer fund.
So how does this affect our ability to pass this budget tonight? Let's agree with this.
I mean, you're gonna have another version that has a few more minor changes, but it
Because
should
we
be
have to
balanced.
post it tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah,
but it should be balanced.
okay.
I think,
So,
yep,
so as I read the RCW, we can post it and still make changes to it, but we need to post it as a preliminary budget so that people can see it as it sits.
Okay.
So we can still make changes up until we finalize it and vote on finalizing it at the meetings.
Okay,
I mean, I think that, you know, with the caveat that there's the adjustment for transfers in TIB, there's no reason not to post the version that everyone's looking at tonight
okay, good.
to say that we're, you know, balanced, but have not worked through these additional priorities. That's what I would highlight at this time. Now, if we go to the last page, page number 28, you can kind of see what's going on by fund. So we've got current fund expense, which is the top row for 2023 of 5.1 million, and this will tie back to the detail. I don't know, on page 4, probably. On page 3. So all these are just subtotals. So we'll see that number on page 3, and then you've got your current fund expense of the 5.94. But again, we've got to add in some more transfers and we'll get this number close. So what we can see in the city's street fund is the revenue for 2023 that we expect to bring in versus our expenses. We definitely have more of a benefit. At the end of the year, we expect to have an increase in the fund balance overall. But we also need to apply the BFCOG changes and run them through. So the main thing is to say the revenue for all the items is going to be more than the expenses. But again, I can't say with comfort that we're ready to make investments at this time on the rest of the items. I think we need to just put the rest of the numbers in because there's been a lot of changes. I know we talked about prioritization. I guess so I don't know if there's other comments on the budget. I think it's still worth it to, you know, talk about any questions and see if anybody else has any thoughts.
So you want to make those changes that we talked at, what you were showing me before we post it?
Well, if we need to post a version everyone's looked at, I think you could post this version and that would be fine and we can continue to make
Okay.
the changes, but I do think we need to make the other changes
Okay,
to reflect the balancing
okay,
out of the items. I think that would be the appropriate
okay.
next step. And then, you know, we spent a bunch of time talking about priorities and everything else. And I guess my suggestion tonight would be, instead of committing to make some of these investments, perhaps we need to wait until 2022 actuals have been reconciled in January and make sure that we have kind of the ending picture that looks good. And I do think we'll also have some more information around the federal appropriation coming in.
Okay,
as
so
an
we'll have a
example.
cutoff on that on the 13th month.
Mhm.
Our cutoff's the 20th of January.
So I guess my question is, with the contract planner, can we have the go-ahead to get her?
Yeah, that was already approved by council at a council
Yeah,
meeting.
it's
a while
already
ago.
approved. It's in
All right.
there.
Mhm.
Okay,
I believe so anyway. Maybe I shouldn't, I don't mean to speak out of
yeah, I
turn.
think that we allocated 50,000.
It's in there.
Yep, the 50,000 is on page 6.
Craig sent the contract, so I'd like to go over that with her and get her in as fast as we can.
Yeah, that way we can get the city planner position posted, and probably that'll be in the salary ordinance that comes out after we pass the budget, because it'll be reflected in there, right?
Right, we would have to just basically amend the ordinance because the salary ordinance, I mean, that goes into effect as of January 1.
Excuse me, Carly, would you speak into the mic?
So we have to have that ordinance, you know, basically in Once you get a planner or whatever hired, then we can amend that ordinance, adding that planner into that.
Is it appropriate that the planner is still included in the budget? The way we have it presented?
I believe so, because
Good
you're
plan
going to be
for it.
getting
For
one.
it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
I think we're good.
okay. If there's no questions specifically on the budget, maybe a pivot could be related to the budget and the priorities about the street sweeper. We'd received confirmation from Representative Rude, and I believe this is from his office. I believe this is on topic. That he's able to make the meeting on Monday. And capital expenditures like a street sweeper are definitely something we could apply for. However, to apply for to make any application, the city has to pay for the expense and then submit for the reimbursement once it's approved. So I think one item perhaps for council to think about that I strongly encourage, and then for discussion on Tuesday as we come back and work on the budget, would be if street sweeper is one we think we can definitely win on from a state capital budget perspective, and people are supportive of that. We'll bring that up Monday and see what other things Representative Rude may be inclined to take up on our behalf, on behalf of City of Benton City. And then Tuesday, we may want to consider or need to consider adding a street sweeper into the budget as part of our work to finalize it.
Okay, here's the problem. We need to have this budget done. It's like the first reading and second
Mhm.
reading, we're gonna be done on the 20th because it has to be entered. We have to provide it to the state. So you're talking about going through and basically doing more budget discussions on the 20th and changing things still?
Well, I guess maybe that's just I don't know the process to move it forward, but I want to bring that up as an item. If we think we want to make a capital expenditure request to the state, we need to be committed as a city to be moving forward with that item is the way that I understand it.
So do we have nothing in there now for the street sweeper?
Correct.
I don't.
I think we have something.
Okay.
I
Let me
think
go get that.
it's in here.
Okay,
Yeah, it's in there.
let's, maybe we can talk, we can go through them where that it's at.
Because we threw around some figures,
190 to 220. Yep.
220. Yeah.
Yep.
Your street sweepers in here. So is that vector?
What,
I'm good.
so they're on those lists, but I don't know that they've,
Right, and that's where, basically you guys need to approve what you want to go out or to use funds for next year. Everything's in here in this budget. And then it's like, okay, well, do you want to spend funds on this?
the
or
figure,
not?
that figure's not in here. It hasn't been applied into this version
Right.
that we're looking at.
Okay, so,
And it only balances to basically zero right now for the general fund. If the street sweeper goes into a different fund, which it might,
It might have.
but I don't see it in any other.
I'd have to go back to the
Funds yet.
computer to see what code, what barcode it went under.
I think that's the same thing.
I'm gonna go grab my.
Sarah, while we're waiting, you're saying that this budget is 100% neutral. There's no debt, no surplus.
There's not after doing the appropriations. I think there's some flexibility in the appropriations though, David.
Yeah,
For example, if we look on page,
I don't have the code.
if we look on page number 9. For street, we see for 2023, we're transferring out of the general fund 162,500 and 162,500 for 2023 and 2024. But then when we flip, the very next fund on page 10 is street. And what we can see is that we actually have a surplus on page 12 at the end of the day. So perhaps we can adjust those amounts to be a bit more neutral. We'd use the 162 because that's what was in there previously. If that makes sense.
Okay, and what do we have carrying forward as far as reserve monies? Is there any?
There's not a ton, no.
So none of our accounts have reserve funds anywhere?
Yeah, well, they do have reserve funds. They do have reserve funds. But there's not a lot. So you can see on page 9, you've got your ending balance of 234. And then you've got reserve funds on page 12. You've got an ending balance. You've got the 32 plus the 744. On page 13, most of these are more neutral. Because again, at the beginning balance on page 13, it doesn't, the ending balance for 2022 isn't exactly rolling forward to 2023. But we can see the activity has us at no gain loss, so it's neutral.
It's in 406, so it's in.
And then for the water fund, you can see, really good size balance on page 22. Almost $1 million with the project coming in. At the end of 2023. And sewer has some, but not as much. But as an example, like on page 27, we've got this account number 407 for sewer water capital maintenance. And we've kind of been transferring in money every year, but not spending too much. And so while we have $100,000 coming in for 2023 and 2024. That's kind of based on history before I was on council of how we were working to, allocate that money. I don't know if it's appropriate that that's the amount of money that needs to get put in there. So you're building up reserves, because I don't know what the capital maintenance necessarily goes for. But understanding, although that's not a reserve, you need to be ready for capital expenditures there.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
And from 2023 to 2024, it doesn't roll balance forward exactly either.
406.
David, do you know what the basis or history might be about, again, transferring in, for example, on page 27, these different amounts every year? Or Mayor Lehman, do you?
I didn't hear your question.
So on page 27, you've got this sewer and water capital maintenance fund.
Yes,
We have a beginning balance of $494,000. And then we have transferred money in from water and sewer so that over time that balance continues to grow, knowing that we're gonna need it. But I don't know what the basis is for using like 25,000, 75,000, other than like, that's what's been done
That's
in
what's
the
been
past
done.
or at
Yeah.
different times.
6.
And I don't know, if that's just part of being a good steward
Yeah, I think it
of
is. I think
taxpayer money to go ahead and put
in
those.
case something happened to
Something
the
happens.
to the treatment plant or something like that, we'd have some funds to rely on.
You
That's
see it's in 406.
I think there's also some of that's there, Sarah, for any kind of match we need for funding for any kind of expansion or large projects, right?
Perfect. So we might propose, for 2023 or 2024, just to change it to like 20,000 and 70,000 to help us balance everything out from the general fund perspective. But I think, we're really close across the board on everything and the numbers are still there.
Well, I think this year is really gonna be a year to tell where things are gonna lie out. So hopefully we won't spend as much in the general fund. Because I'd like to see us carrying forward a surplus of some sort.
Well, and hopefully our taxes will be higher. We've been pretty conservative on a revenue side based on where we're at in the economy perspective overall, right? We have basically left even property taxes flat, and we would expect it to be a little bit higher, but I think there's a little bit of unknowns about what those things look like, and as the moratorium gets lifted, what other revenue might come in too. So we tried to be conservative, maybe too conservative on a revenue perspective, but I think hopefully that'll serve us well. And now we're in a position where we can, I believe, view and take a look at the financials on more of a real-time basis with the support that we have from our city staff.
Right. I agree.
okay, so moving forward then. We're going to ask Sherry to make these changes that you illustrated. And then we'll post it tomorrow as preliminary budget. Is that correct?
Or post it and then make the changes.
If people are more comfortable with that, yeah. Could post this version and then make the change.
Well, I'd like it to be as close as possible when we post it, but
Then I would suggest you make the changes and email it to everyone and then post it probably.
that would be good, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have any other business that we need to take care of tonight? Well, if not, maybe we can all go unless you have something else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So
Perfect.
moved, second.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Thank you.
motion carries.
Thank you guys so much you guys are doing a great job and